Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can.
Is that this? Okay. But I will be doing an introduction.
Okay.
Okay.
I love your studio.
Thanks so much. It's so conveniently located in our house.
Here's Alexa.
Wow. What a dramatic opening.
You need
I'm
this.
Alexa Fisher. This is the Wishbeads podcast. We're doing something a little bit different today. I am interviewing my husband, Robert LaPorta, because it's appropriate. He has a story to tell you about his wish coming true. But before we get into that, I just want to acknowledge that Robert has been a long time collaborator, specifically behind the scenes with all things Alexa, whether it has been the production of all of my online courses, certainly my best cheerleader, and
Editor of the podcast.
editor of the podcast, literally like someone who has to listen to my endless ideas. And actually, you're going to hear more about an event that we're co-facilitating on retreat in a beautiful location in Costa Rica. More on that later.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, time to shift gears. You're now a guest and not a producer. So here we are. We're in it. So Robert, welcome to the Wishbeads podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Imagine if, I think we did a podcast a while back, but we never aired it.
Sounds like us.
I think your super fans probably know who I am.
Right.
But what if I was just a dud and I don't know what to say? I'm just like this.
Well, he's not a dud, as I'm sure you can imagine. But I haven't properly given you,
Like this.
I haven't given you an introduction. So usually when I introduce somebody,
that's right.
I do an introduction. And here we're
Let's
just
hear
going
it.
to, it's a little bit of a hybrid between my personal connection, obviously. We've been together for 33 years. Yes, we met when we were 8. And I'm just kidding. But we have 2 children who are teenagers.
I was thinking about you when you were 8.
That's true, because he's an older man. But anyway, let's stay focused.
That's true.
And he's an amazing dad. He's an amazing husband. And professionally, your work has always been artistic in nature. It has always been, I think, dabbling in the physical, and that can look like architecture. He has a degree in architecture from SciArc. And it has always been artistic, meaning, and I've said this to you 1,000 times, you are literally one of the most talented artists that I have ever seen. And it comes so easily to you, whether you're creating your beautiful Little Man musings, which you can find on Instagram at Little Man Daily, this character that is just so full of energy and light, and that just comes from you effortlessly, or you're designing a space, or you are creating a video which is so artistic in nature, and that really the work that you've done, specifically, not only just in my work, but the work that you've done with your father and your brother, which is helping anchor the message of a school and creating videos that can be used as fundraisers. You have the ability to tap into the heart and express it creatively that moves people. So whether that's to move them in an inspiring way, to move them to give money, you have this ability to take the heart and art and put it out into the world.
Heart.
Yes.
Heart.
Which has the word art.
Art's in it.
And that's what I've always loved about you. You know, you really infuse that in everything that you do. And I can imagine that being an artist in this world is not the easiest journey in the world. And so I want to talk about your wish, because this is the Wishbeads podcast, and something that you have had inside of you that throughout this wishing journey, not just as my producer behind the scenes, but really as someone who has wished, how has this materialized in the last few years for you?
What an introduction. Thank you. I would like to put some of that back on you because you often see in me more than I see in myself. And it's something we've talked about. And I so value your support and your setting the table for me to be able to express myself. If you look around our home, you see many projects that we initiated, but I was committed to doing, and you were patient enough to allow me to do it in whatever process that looks like. So I do feel our home and our life is a form of expression, and that's unusual, I think, often. And it requires a lot of openness and patience and willingness and support. So,
yay.
in the truest sense of the word, my better half, isn't that a weird term? Though,
It is a weird term. You're whole as a person, yeah.
I am whole. But that classic thing of you often don't recognize in yourself what other people see in you. So that has been my work, is finally saying yes to actually, the idea of things coming easy to you is kind of an unusual, like you're a dynamic public speaker. And I think that you could argue that comes easy to you, so to speak. You kind of have a muscle, and I've seen it. I've stood in front of it when you create your classes, and you'll do 30 3-minute videos without a second take.
But it did take a lot of practice.
And
I didn't
prep.
start that way. And prep.
Yeah, and that's,
so I
there's
think
something very valuable to talk
Yeah.
about there. But
Right.
you first say yes to it. Mm-hmm. And I remember your first course, it was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm making a shift in my life. So.
And I did alone for the most part, I must say.
Yeah,
So-
the first one for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I set up the camera in the
Right.
background. I told you how to use the camera.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one that had a flip where you could see yourselves.
No, it was crazy town.
It was really trusting it was in focus. I mean, it's really cool to see those early ones. But for me, saying yes was huge. And it happened, I think, in the last couple of years. And Wishbeads did have a significant role in it, in that I actually thought it was maybe one thing, and it ended up leading me elsewhere. I don't know if you remember the Wish Circle we did maybe around COVID, but I was seeing myself as a broadcaster.
Well, that materialized in a different way,
I know.
which is really interesting. Why don't we talk about that for a second?
We should.
So talk everybody through if you're not familiar with the Wish Circle. Essentially, it's a guided experience that I do once a month, and I just lead you through a visualization exercise. So you close your eyes, you just listen to the sound of my voice, and I invite you to imagine a moment in which you're already living your wish. You're activating your imagination and waking up your senses and allowing yourself to play out a movie. For some people, it's very visual. For others, it's more of a feeling, and it takes time to cultivate a relationship to what that feels like. But essentially, I have watched over and over and over again, people see something that I call like sparks your heart. Like it just excites you. So somewhere in your being, you saw yourself broadcasting.
Right.
So let's talk about where that spark went to. Where did it evolve into?
Well, in a one-to-one relationship, yeah, I saw myself in a booth watching a football game, I think it was. And I remember looking behind me, and there was something on the wall that was very personal, meaning I had sort of I felt like it meant I claimed the environment, for myself. I don't even know if, I think it just happened organically in that our son plays baseball, and he plays on a travel team. He plays on the high school team. He's very active as a baseball player. And my father is a huge baseball fan. And as he's gotten older, it's been harder for him to travel to come watch Elio. And actually, you've done a podcast with Elio about baseball. You can go back to the archive episode number.
I think he keeps on asking me to take it down. So anyway, hold off on that. Yeah.
Does he?
I know he's a little shy about the fact that I never put the kids. You will notice in all my social media, I never post pictures of my children ever. It's, I just don't find it's my place to do that. But he agreed when he was a young man to do a podcast about his love of baseball. But I think
And
because
his mental approach, which is
Yeah, I
pretty
know, but
interesting as it related to
anyway, we'll say if you don't see a link, I'm honoring the fact that he asked me to take it down. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
well, yeah.
So I started very roughly streaming the games so my dad could watch.
Right.
But I couldn't help myself but stand there as the game was being streamed and talk to him. Who's at bat, what was happening, what my thoughts were about what was happening. Other dads would step next to me and I would talk to them about.
And moms. Hello.
Well, it started with dads.
Okay.
And significantly moved to not only moms, but you especially, of course. So it grew into me buying a microphone, getting a clip for the fence, understanding how to, really frame, interviewing the boys before the games to get insight, interviewing the coach, and then really talking about it. And then it started to get a little bit of a following.
Yeah, so we started to broadcast together these baseball games, and like anything, you begin and it builds some momentum, and then pretty soon grandparents are tuning in, and the school is posting it on their social media to watch the live stream of the game, and
People at the game are listening.
oh, right. One time I was talking about, sometimes we would have to park ourselves right behind home plate, which meant that we were away from our team. We've improved our technology this year. So now we can work remotely. But at the time, we were far away, and I remember sharing on the broadcast that I was really hungry, and I was disappointed that the other team, where we were playing, didn't have a snack bar. And sure enough, like someone runs over a Cliff Bar or something for me to enjoy. It was so funny because I realized that people actually were watching the game at the game while simultaneously listening to our broadcast because they enjoyed it, and it was fun. But I really, I just want to highlight again that when you say yes to seeing that wish, on one hand, maybe you could be like, okay, how do I go become a professional broadcaster? But something in your being wanted to have that experience. And you looked in your present life and nurtured that experience right where you were. And I believe that that is actually part of the magic of how we teach wishing, how I teach wishing, what is the opportunity here is to bridge the gap between this notion that we have of blowing out birthday candles and tossing pennies. It's phenomenal that we all do this every year, blow out birthday candles. But what if you were to take that invitation and expand it into a real methodology so that you could see for yourself how able you are to create what you desire? And it's growing.
Yeah. And then I think the beauty is it's not linear, right? So broadcasting wasn't one-to-one that I'm going to be in the booth talking on a mic about sports. It started to evolve as I did more wish circles into the ability to broadcast my work, right? The ability to speak, to put myself in a position to broadcast my work. And that leap was just another nuance to this idea that I'm really trying now to understand, So it manifests itself when, I don't even know how it happened initially, but we'd always talked about you need to do a show, let's do a show.
For your artwork,
let's find
specifically
a way
to create
celebrate.
art.
I mean, so much is driven by your enthusiasm, but
I'm kind of a relentless wisher.
you're relentlessly
I am.
optimistic.
I am relentlessly optimistic.
And
I do see what's inside people. I must say that is part of my gift is that I can see what is inside somebody that's ready to come out. And it's not what I want for them. That's actually not it at all. It's this beautiful, precious gift that is your gift to the world. So when you block your ability to put that wish, that experience, that expression in the world, you're robbing the world of your light. And that's really what I believe is your wish. So and it is not always associated with like your career or your achievements or all of that. I think we have that all wrong. But what I think you were surprised by is how everybody loved your broadcast. And that was your voice. You were very comfortable as a behind the scenes person.
Yeah.
You were so comfortable and so giving and so talented at lifting up other voices, including my own. And broadcasting was something that you just wanted to do. And the more that you did it, people loved it. Yeah. And they responded to your voice. And all of a sudden you had this feedback of like, wow, I have something that people are really acknowledging and wanting more of. So that, I think, is that very important muscle of confidence that that you exercised.
It also taught me, I remember as, the first season, it was, I had to communicate my way into the role, saying, I'm going to be doing this. This is what's happening. And by the second season, we started to have a following, and you started to be very involved. And I remember, I don't want to say struggling or battling, but that feeling of, whoa, now there's an expectation, I don't know, the feeling
like pressure?
Weird, do you have to do more? And I recognize that, and this is, I think, really important, the more was just more me, myself. You know what I mean?
Well, it's releasing.
To think, oh, now I have to deliver something. I have to be something because there are more people and I have to rise up to a level versus, no, I just have to continue to be me.
Yeah. Did you find that the more that you did it, you became, or the more attention there was on you, that you became a little more self-conscious?
There were moments where it crossed into my head and I was able to, really recognize, wow, that's so fascinating. That's a human impulse, I guess, that if you start creating something and give it to the world and people start to respond to it, you have to elevate it or you have to make another leap to another level, to something bigger, better. But I want to take that into my next phase, which is recognizing it's just about the work and the commitment to the doing. And I know where it comes from in me, and that is enough, and to be able to just deliver it and then be able to speak about it.
Yeah.
Is the next leap for me.
Well, was there a moment in a wish circle where you actually made the flip from this wish of broadcasting? And by the way, you can have more than one wish. They can happen simultaneously. But where you felt the call to share your sculptures, to share your art with the world. Was there a specific moment that you saw that?
I don't remember if it was a moment in a wish. I do remember the exercise of animating your doubt or your block.
Oh, yeah. So I offered a class in and around wishing, and it was really also looking, and I'm sure you may have heard this in other works, the work that you do with the inner critic.
Yes.
And when you begin to demystify that voice and draw it and give it a sound and have a relationship with it, we never really get rid of our critics. Sometimes there can be such a thing as constructive criticism. But when you're in relationship with it, it starts to lose its power over you. Because we all have voices that hold us back or keep us small, or the voices that tell us, what will people think, or am I good enough, or is it going to work? All those are very normal. But instead of having them just constantly run in the background, sort of diminishing our ability to do the things we want to do, you got to get them out from the shadows and into the light of day. And when you do, that's where the transformation happens, instead of feeling ashamed that you even have the thoughts. So we did the Wish workshop, I think in 2021. And yeah, it was 2021. I was just looking at that because I'm building a new offering to really create a supportive community around the teaching behind wishing and the fun around wishing together. And it's true, when we witnessed one another's inner critics and spoke about it,
shared it.
yeah, it actually seemed a bit fun.
It did. And I remember the feeling that this character lingers almost in the background of most things that you
Absolutely
are doing. So I was trying to sell 3-9 baseball.
Oh, we have lots of projects. That's like a whole other podcast. We should do that podcast with your
my
dad.
dad. Yeah,
we'll
we
do that
should.
podcast. 3-9 Baseball is another creation. It's like the
We do
idea
have a
factory
podcast
here.
with my dad, though.
Yeah. But we need to do a follow-up one about 3-9 Baseball.
So I was
Different project, different podcast.
And that thing, it's often easier to sell other people's dreams or work. I was walking around LA with Brian, holding 3-9, going into stores, trying to see if people wanted it.
It's a tabletop baseball game.
Dice.
That his baseball game that's actually phenomenal. Robert's dad created it. Robert designed it. I pitched it to some sales outlets, and it's an awesome game.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. We'll talk more about that later.
I actually think on 3-9 Games YouTube channel, you could see some of the early baseball broadcasts on the live side.
That's so fun.
Because they
Okay.
sponsored it. Anyways.
Okay, you find it. We'll put a link.
Went into a store, 3-9, and it was so clearly not for 3-9, but Brian was like, dude,
Oh yes,
you have to put your little man in this store.
Little Man Sculptures, Little Man Creations. Yeah,
around.
that's right. That's what it was.
And that sparked a journey of how do I do the 2-dimensional little man in a 3-dimensional way
right.
that could be an offering in a store. He sells funky. He's a home designer.
Very eclectic.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what started it, which leads me to say that action begets action. Like you have to begin at the beginning. A good friend of mine just reminded me of that. Just begin at the beginning. But there is a momentum that builds when you start saying yes. And the yes can just be a little thing that's just a teeny bit outside your comfort zone. And when you do that, that's when you're building those muscles of confidence to be like, oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And so it's true. You were selling 3-9, but then it led to a new relationship, which led to putting 3-9 sculptures in this man's store because he totally loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, wait a minute. There's a story with that is very pertinent. So now I'm faced with how do I do Little Man in 3D because he's often a 2-dimensional drawing.
right.
You know, if you look at the Instagram, it's mostly 2D. How do I do it in 3D? So I started experimenting, coming up with project. I gave myself a deadline because you were like, you got to give yourself a deadline.
Deadlines, the best.
And the deadline was whatever day, the next day. And do you remember?
No.
So something happened in the morning that wanted to pull me off the deadline. I don't know. I don't know if it was something you needed me to do or someone else needed me to. It was just something pulling, and I got so frustrated and pissed. And you recognized something was happening. And you're like, wait, wasn't today
The day.
And I partly wanted to avoid it because I was doing something totally new. And you're like, this is why you're upset. You need to do this. You have to go in. You're avoiding it. And this is going to hurt you more than anything.
Yeah.
Remember this?
Yeah. Now, yeah. Well, it sounds familiar.
Well, wait. On top of that, in the last moment, I designed a Little Man 3D very, very quickly that morning.
Oh, yeah.
I brought all these in, and he loved that one the most.
Right.
So there were so many things that happened that day, which was
Right.
fighting my anxiety to share my work,
Right.
finally doing it,
Right.
him actually loving the work,
Right.
demanding I speak about the work in a way that got him to understand what the hell he was looking at,
Right.
and then him actually really liking the one that I just,
Let go. And you just made it quickly.
there were so many things that day.
So, I mean, there's just lots to highlight here because it is so easy to keep putting off your dreams and wishes. Like, it's so easy, especially if you never say them to anybody, especially if your heart has been protected so much you don't even know what your wish is. You have to begin where you are, because this is what you came here to experience.
Yeah.
And even in the growing and the meeting your obstacles and facing your nervousness and looking at your inner critic, that you also came to experience so that you could have the opportunity, the gift of the opportunity to finally and sweetly deal with it, to grow as a result of confronting it, interfacing with, learning from it. It's such a rich opportunity, and only you can do the work. Yeah. Like, even though I am, definitely your wish whisperer and like constantly supporting this journey, you can only do the journey. I cannot do it for you, and nor do I do it for anybody else who works with me. But the opportunity is there for us to be in like the dojo of life. The dojo is where one practices martial arts. Right. And I feel like we are in the dojo of life with the opportunity to train and build and have levels. And then when you get your white belt, then you go for your next belt, and then the next belt and the next belt. And it's like life.
Well, what I was surprised by is the beauty of Alexa Fisher was you really pointed out, because what happened to me there was he liked it. I'm so happy.
Oh, yay, he really likes me. He really, really likes me. I remember that. Wasn't that like a Sally Field movie? He likes me.
She said it at the Academy Awards.
Oh, well, that's because it's made famous by by a film. I don't remember the name of the film.
But and that is the deeper work for me.
Yeah.
Is really... That
really?
Guy,
that guy gives you validation,
and that's what you
that
need.
It really irritated me.
It did. You were like, wait a minute, this is the next layer for me, for sure. Peel back, nobody,
and
you're a little like, really, you're gonna believe him?
No, it's not that. No. Let's be clear. Yeah. Of course, I was happy for you, and it feels good to get positive feedback, like every human being.
Right.
Absolutely. What the trick is that if someone, let's say it's not for him, no problem.
Right.
That's when you have to say in your mind, next. And what happens to most people is they're so afraid to put their work out there, whatever their work is, even if it's volunteer work or your garden or anything, because they're afraid of the fear of rejection. So that stops people before they even begin. Mm-hmm. So if you're putting so much stock into somebody's positive validation, then you're missing the deeper sense of connection to self, regardless of what someone says. It's the exercising the non-attachment to the result. You believe in your work. You have enough positive reinforcement around you, because it's not just me who is telling you how much your work is valued and appreciated. You actually have a lot of people around you saying that. So this individual who you don't really know very well, sure, his opinion is something, but it's not the end-all be-all, because one day it's going to be he loves it. The next is going to be like, I don't like it at all. I don't get it. Yeah. And you have to be that center that can ride those ups and downs, because the center is who you are. It's your heart. It's the place where you create the art. It's who you show up as a person. And your opportunity is to develop that sense of self-worth within you, that unshakable, steady, ever-loving presence to your own light. And then it doesn't really matter. Because I'm not for everybody. Sometimes my energy is not appropriate for somebody and they don't like it. And that's not a reflection on me. They're allowed to have whatever experience they want to have. Yeah. But if I was dependent on everybody liking me, it would be exhausting and false. And I think that that's actually the seat of what a lot of young people in this world are suffering from, this mental anxiety and depression versus being liked, the like button. So it's such a great learning. Yeah. To actually, because I had forgotten about that, but it did trigger me, because it was like, wait a minute. Yeah. I mean, sure, great.
And that is so deep.
Sure.
In a sense. Because I was riding this high, I'm like, he liked me. And really understanding what that means is another. And you're really capable of speaking about it, because I couldn't. We started as actors. We were both actors. We were introduced as actors.
Right.
I couldn't handle the
Rejection.
to be
I've been rejected more than anybody watching this or listening.
and it is a real rejection. It's like,
Yeah.
you're
Oh, I
not
had people
right.
tell me I was old, that my eyelids were droopy, that my, like
Voice, whatever.
everything. I've had so many people tell me why I couldn't get this, that, and the other. And that's not why I took a pause from acting. It's because my passion for actually helping people in different ways
No, I know.
superseded
Yeah, for sure. You've talked
my involvement in the entertainment industry as a professional actress. But you do develop a sense of self regardless of it, because it's really actually not personal. It's just not personal. Even not getting an acting gig wasn't really personal. And if you develop a trust in your universal like life path, it's only in hindsight that you realize the gift of not getting something, You realize the gift of what you learned when you made a quote unquote bad decision. It wasn't really a bad decision. It was learning, and you really learn the best from your mistakes and stumbles. You do. You don't learn as much from your like solid upward trajectory. And I think that whether you're an actress or an entrepreneur, you're a teacher, you're a parent, it is all of it has highs and lows and in between. And if you develop this like not taking it so personally, you can stay very calm amidst all of the things that are being thrown at you.
All right, we're going to get a part 2 because the battery's going to...
Oh, the battery's dying. Okay.
I'll change the battery and we can go to part 2. So give
Part 2. Go
cut
get
to
something to
commercial break.
drink. We'll be right back with part 2 of the Wishbeads podcast. Stay tuned. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, I guess it is on now.
Yeah, it's recording. And we're back.
And we're back. Okay. See, that's the benefit of having your tech person also be the one that you're interviewing, because he had an eye on the battery level.
I'm not sure it's even framed the same way, but that's fine.
Hey, we're doing the best we can. Progress, not perfection.
So in this story of
You had the deadline.
yeah,
You met the deadline.
I just want to explore the idea that we're fueled in life sometimes by, like if you're an angry person, sometimes anger is the way you feel alive,
Sure.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel I maybe play, it's a trick I play or something, that my quote unquote insecurity or not willingness to just step forward and here's my work is a fuel for the work, is a humility that drives how I see the world. You've talked about it behind the scenes. Standing behind the scenes is a great way to see the world.
Totally.
It gives me perspective and feeling and an attitude and an approach to my work. And I think the next level for me is recognizing my work won't change. It won't be affected. I'm not all of a sudden going to become an
Egocentric maniac.
Yeah, like this is, and it's ironic that the profession I thought I was going to go towards, architecture, actually has a lot of that.
Well, it does. Oh
Has
my
a
God,
lot
it
of
does.
that, right?
Well, and I think
very
you're
little humility about that profession.
Yeah.
It really.
And I think your work, especially your latest collection of sculptures and teachings around the inner fort, is a very beautiful interior invitation. It's like an inner world that does require a lot of quiet contemplation, which is why I think it's such a true and unique expression of who you are.
Yeah.
And all of it, there's nothing wasted. Even the challenges and the the uncomfortable part of confronting, let's say, insecurity. Like none of that's wasted. It's all playing out exactly as it's supposed to.
almost.
Yeah. And the work that we're doing more together, workshops exploring the inner fort, our retreat that we're co-leading.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're broadcasting and finding your voice, that same muscle of just being in the moment, learning how to express yourself, letting go of the self-awareness or self-consciousness. That's exactly the same muscle that you need when you're talking to someone about your artwork, or you're teaching a workshop, or you're leading a in-person activation. It's the same.
Well, I just had this realization that in terms of the work of the inner fort, I build these environments that are ways of considering what are the spaces or the places or the methods we find ourselves, right? Where do we go to in our mind, in our homes?
To fortify ourselves.
Just to reset, to see the world. And I have those, and I put them into the inner fort. I have it in my house. I have places.
His man cave.
It's my office.
Yeah, your office, but it really is an extraordinary piece of art in and of itself. It's really,
that.
It's become that.
And that is a safe place for me to sit and meditate. And so I'm building those inner forts as a way to remind people of the importance of that, right? And it's that feeling I talk about when I was a kid and making a fort in our backyard with my brother. And it was the greatest feeling, finding the wood and building and sitting in there. And one time there was a frog that came in. It was amazing. It's that feeling of a place to give you that kind of, but the next, it's you need that to allow you to step forward out of it. It's like a dance. You go back and forth. You go into the fort, reset, you step forward to be a better person, right?
Right.
So I just had that realization.
Well, let's go back to some timeline stuff.
Okay.
Because you had that opportunity to go to a store, to meet with the owner, for that owner to say, yes, I love what you made. Let's put it in the store. That then set up other timelines to delivering more work as things sold, etc. And then there was a bit of something I want to talk about, which is consistency. Now, admittedly, you're my husband, so you are showing up on wish circles regularly. We're talking about your wishes. But then there is the intersection with other people's wishes. And my mom, Billy Fisher, who many of you know by Bling by Billy and her one-of-a-kind collections every month, she discovered during the pandemic and through wish circles as well that she was ready to express herself as an artist as well. Started taking Zoom art classes and then really started to create like a prolific amount of artworks and paintings and collages, and started to, kind of noodle, if you will, this idea of putting her work out there, obviously with my encouragement as well, because that's just, what I do. And that brought up another deadline. And this is where the concept of having wish buddies come in play, because accountability and kind of like supporting each other with kind of me in the background. So there is a art fair that happens in our community every year called the Montana Art Walk, and there we weren't able to go. Not this past year, but the year before that, we had a conflict on that day. But because of my mom's art classes, she sort of got wind of it again and said, we could apply to have a booth, but why don't we have a booth together? Yeah. Why don't we have a booth together? Again, deadlines. Deadlines set everything in motion because of their guidelines and what you needed to submit. Things started to come together, where artwork had to go on a website and they had to link to it and you had to write a blurb about it. And there was an application, and then you all got a space. Yeah. And then in, I guess it was maybe October of 2024, was it? Anyway, it was late 2024. There was September, the Montana. Yes, it was September. There was the Montana Art Walk, and you and Billy had a booth together. Yeah. And you cheered each other on, and you worked together to figure out the booth and how she would display, because your artwork is very, very different, but how you would find a way to do it. You called your booth Bobby and Billy. And it was awesome.
Bobby and Billy.
Bobby and Billy.
I'll put a picture up. Yes, fascinating because I learned a lot. I think the inner Ford stuff started earlier with the clay work, taking a clay class and seeing something. But remember a funny thing about that day, the Montana Art Walk, it was incredible to see the work up. I had no trouble manifesting the work.
Once you said yes and you
Once I
had a
said yes,
deadline.
and everybody was like, holy cow. You made a lot. I maybe made too much.
You made a lot in like 4 weeks. You made a lot.
It was amazing and blissful to do. So all of it came together very seamlessly. But here we are. It's up, and there are a lot of people, and people come by the booth, and you're struck with, do I let them just wander, or do I say something? And your mom and I talked about that. You noticed more decidedly that I was kind of stayed back, chilled, talking to my friends and people who came that I knew, and occasionally if someone had a question, great feedback. Some people would wander in, they'd wander out. And your mom and I talked about that, and she said, I'm gonna make someone buy, And sure enough, a guy came.
She didn't make him buy,
No.
but she was like, I want to sell to a stranger.
That's what it was.
And we have a picture
That's what it-
of this
up to that
great
point,
guy.
we're
She's
friends.
like, I want to sell to a
Yes.
stranger something that
Yes.
I made. And I have the best picture of this guy who was so cool
I'll put it up.
and sold and bought a piece of her art. And she was like flipping over the moon just at the concept.
But he wasn't. He was almost going to leave, and then she kept.
She
we were
worked him.
talking, and she commented on.
I
his
do have
scarf,
sales in my blood.
And
Yeah.
I think that was the final sale that put. We weren't keeping score, but she sold more than me that day. Maybe I was keeping score. But it really was that interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
That last piece of the puzzle. So.
I want to go back for a minute because it was very easy to gloss over the fact that you, in 4 weeks, created like a prolific amount of artwork, something like 15 to 20 sculptures. You produced a dozen Sumi ink watercolor pieces.
I'll put some of it up.
You
cut
created
to it.
so much work,
Yeah.
more work than you had done probably in your entire life in 4
sure.
weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to say again, when you're really in that place, you talk about like when I make my classes, like admittedly, my online courses, I have had a lot of practice. So I really have honed my craft. But when I'm ready to do the work itself flows.
Right.
And I think that really bears repeating that when you give yourself permission to do the thing, the actually doing of the thing is joy.
Yeah.
It's joy.
Yeah.
And it's not hard. And the how did you experience all the doubts? Like what was your relationship to doubt in the midst of the creation?
Is it weird to say there was zero doubt?
No, in fact, I was hoping you would say that because you have to, as a person, recognize that when you are in your work
Yeah.
and when you are doing your thing,
Getting goosebumps.
you are releasing doubt. Now, your doubts creep in, I think, a lot based on habit.
Yeah.
This idea that once it's over, you have to tell a story about it.
Right.
And that's just not, it is true and it's not true.
All right, and here's the really fascinating thing. So no doubt making the work, right? And the work is finished. Then you put it up, and you kind of want to sell it because that's
No, you
want
definitely want to sell it.
Yeah, you want it to be cherished by others, and then so when it doesn't sell, maybe that's when you say, well, even though this flow happened so easily, there is that creeps in that other layer of, but somebody, why isn't it? I don't know. That's the one little thing that I know we're talking about, and I know it's that external. The key is to stay in the flow,
Right.
And keep putting it out there,
Right.
And keep putting it out there,
Right.
And that consistent cycle will pay off.
It does, and it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, the external validation piece is overrated. And yes, you
Is
need
it?
to, yeah.
Yeah, I guess
and
so.
and yes, you do need to share your work with the world, and it does need to be sold, and it does need to be valued, but you just keep going. And the people that succeed, in my opinion, like succeed for the distance, they just keep going. That's that relentless optimism. You surround yourself with mentorship. You surround yourself with people who love you, who support you. You surround yourself and challenge yourself to practices that put you back in the flow state, like meditation, like being conscious of your health, using your inner fort techniques to fortify your life, your thoughts. And honestly, Robert, you wouldn't get this experience just by reading about it. You won't get it by watching me or other people step into it. You get to go on the journey when you say yes to the journey for yourself. Because every journey is unique. This is not a book. It's an action. It is learning through doing. And I know we've been going on quite a bit, and we're not even to the big like reveal, which I'd like you to share what happened next. So you do the Montana artwork, you do sell pieces, you do put yourself out there, and you send an email blast of literally everyone you know, announcing that you're coming to the show. Amazing friends that you haven't even seen in a while show up, which is so awesome. And then we ended up doing what? What was the next deadline that we did?
Home show, which allowed us me to focus only on my work. I wasn't sharing space with anyone. I was sharing space with you. You put out your ceramics, which were amazing. And bigger pieces that
I didn't sell any ceramics, by the way. They just were out in the house. I wasn't selling anything.
I had bigger pieces up. We took the bed out of our bedroom and made a gallery space. There was a fort in the backyard, which was amazing. There was a box tunnel, which you had to crawl through. Interactive. There were many scales. I had a big sumi, and it was unbelievable who showed up. So many people and friends. And
that took courage for you to...
Yeah. There was one person... Another moment, but it really passed quickly, where somebody wasn't going to be able to make it that I really wanted to come, because I'm kind of trying to foster. He owns a gallery, and remember, and there was a part of me that's like, well, we're not going to do it,
Got to stick to your deadlines.
Yeah, and it was very rewarding. I sold pieces again, the biggest piece I've ever sold. Actually.
Yeah,
and that was incredibly rewarding. I'm still learning. So that show, I didn't have any price tags on the work.
And it made it hard for people and awkward for people to be like, how much is this? Yeah, that was...
And I've really read about that since, and this new thing I'm involved in.
Well, now let's say to the next thing. So in case you're following along, we had the Montana artwork. Now we had a home show. And then what next?
Well, somehow I discovered a email newsletter that it goes out to artists on the West Side or in LA about shows, opportunities
for artists.
And there was a call for the other art fair, which is run by Saatchi Art. And I'd been to the other art fair here in Santa Monica a couple years running with Billy, your mom, you. And she's always said, Robert,
you should be here.
Come on.
You've got to be here.
And I would walk around, and it's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's its own
vibe. How many vendors do you think are there? How many artists? Like 300?
I don't know if it's quite that much.
200?
This one, 150.
Oh, 150.
Yeah.
Here in Santa Monica, they do it at an airplane hangar called the Barker Hangar, and it's beautifully set up and sponsored, and it's really quite a thing.
Amazing. And it's a lot of artists selling their wares, sharing their wares, and so I applied, and I was blessed because I had all the photos I needed, having done the home show, and I had everything I needed. Good work to share, and it took a little while, but then I got waitlisted. And you were like, "That's cool, man."
Waitlisted's cool.
It's very cool. And then I got in. I got another one that said you're in, And that's where I am now. I mean, it's happening a week today.
Today, the time of this recording,
today.
it is happening in Atwater
Village.
Atwater Village, February 21st through the 23rd. Is that those are the dates? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, next
right.
weekend?
I think Thursday night is opening.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, cool.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's Thursday night.
Look how casual we are about it. We're not even sure. But isn't that funny how you prepare? You know, I've said this before on the podcast or in my work. My grandpa Greenie used to say that luck, the word luck stood for labor under correct knowledge, meaning that you make your own luck. And I think that in the process of making your wishes come true, if you're following it, really just taking the next right action, there is a gift of that, because you're absolutely right. In order for you to apply to this opportunity, you had to have a body of work. Yeah. In order to be ready for the home show and have your website ready, you had to take images. You even created a postcard, which you already have in time to do this art show. And so, people sometimes say, well, who am I to invite people over to my house and have a bunch of things, or who am I to fill in the blank? But every step can lead and give you the springboard to the next step. But you have to green light right where you are. You have to say yes and give yourselves permission to take that first step.
Yeah.
And that's how you get lucky.
Yeah. And so that's a perfect example. And it drives you to do more. It really does drive you.
Yeah. The goal changes. The line.
As I often joke that the home show was your strategy for taking care of things around the house.
Really? I can't imagine that.
I fixed the door.
Yep. You built a beautiful cork wall that people absolutely freaked out about. It's a sculpture in and of itself.
Yeah, I built a whole wall.
But it really wasn't. I mean, it was an added perk for sure. But
you're right.
But deadlines make all the difference. They really do.
Gosh, they do.
They really do.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, the only person that can push my business forward is me. And so I have to put in sometimes artificial deadlines, or I work on collaborations. But when me and my team have a deadline, it changes everything. And I need help making them, with people that are on my team, then I'll keep moving it forward.
Right.
It's just how it works,
Yeah.
in the game of life.
Yeah.
But I really do. I applaud you, Robert, for continuing to expand in your mind what's possible, and also letting go of the outcome. Let's just let it go. Let go of the outcome. Yeah. And it's the same for me too. I have plenty of big things that I'm working on. I don't have to know exactly how it's going to unfold, but I know it's a gift to take just the next step towards it.
Do you think I should make a special bracelet for the show that I wear?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There are all the beads right there.
Yeah.
I can make a custo.
Yes, a custo.
Then I wear it at the show.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
All right. As we wrap up, because I think we have gone on and on, I do want to say, we're going to have a little teaser here. Next month, in the month of March 2024, I don't know when you're listening to this, we are going to be officially announcing a retreat that we are co-leading in Costa Rica in March of 2026.
Am I truly a co-leader? Or
yes. Well, you're like a guest leader. No, I'm joking. No, you'll probably take my lead, because I'm actually leading my first Wish Camp Costa Rica called Don't Sweat, Wish Big, with the amazing Christine Carlson. In just a few weeks, I cannot wait, at the beautiful Imaloa Institute in Costa Rica. And when I was there, I loved it so much that I made sure to schedule it for 2026. And as you've been evolving the work with the Inner Fort, I knew that it was time to bring wishing, especially wishing with men, into that retreat environment. So my retreat with Christine Carlson is all women, And with this one, we're opening it up to anyone. We've got couples that we know who are interested in coming. We have individuals we know who are interested in coming. But I think that, and we've led experiences together, and I've had men be involved in some of the wish camps that I've produced locally. And I just think it's time for us to do this creative, exploratory work. And if we can do it in the paradise that is Costa Rica, in this magnificent eco-luxury resort, I cannot wait. So stay tuned for more about that.
I've become very interested in men's work. So this will be a real opportunity for me to... I'm in a men's group, and it's been invaluable. It's coming up on 3 years now.
Oh my gosh, really?
2 some years, yeah.
Wow.
And it's been invaluable. And I'm been sought after from the head of it to be a leader, to start my own group within his community, which has been nice to hear. And so this, I feel, is a real next level approach to that idea of sharing. I mean, that's another thing of humbly wanting to be in community with other men to help each other and listen and whatever that means.
Yeah.
And how the inner fort could play a role in that is pretty exciting to think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this work really is for everybody. And I think that when we allow work of the heart and creativity to be part of our lives, it's a play and joy and connection that is precisely the energy that we need right now, especially as we face some, really, really big challenges globally, on the planet, all kinds of things. So I say yes to all of that. And I say yes to all of you listening and watching to stay connected to your wishes, to make wishes, to join wish circles, to come to wish camp, and to share your wish stories, because I think it's really by taking the time to hear how other people have made their wishes come true and how they've walked through that experience is inspiring. So thank you for being brave enough to share your journey so candidly.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to come on your podcast first time. We did one before, but it didn't air.
Did it not air?
No, it's sitting in the archive.
Oh, sheesh.
I've seen it recently.
We need to do that. I don't know what happened. Something happened.
Changed directions. Anyways, thank you. Hopefully I sounded okay and it wasn't too close.
No. Yeah.
And
you can fix it in post.
Yeah. And so what happens now is I step away and you talk about how amazing I am.
Oh,
that's
right.
With all your guests.
Oh, I do.
Closing. Oh, I just.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I do a closing call to action. So here we go. Are you ready? Just pretend you're not here.
Okay. Yeah,
all right. So thank you for joining the Wishbeads podcast.
Go right into
because he listens to it.
Yeah, when they leave, you're just, oh my God, I love so and so. They're so great.
Okay. Pretend you're not here.
Okay, I just cut the Zoom, so to speak.
Okay. Ready? Obviously, I love Robert LaPorta. I've been with him 33 years. And I am just so excited for you to experience his artwork, his magic, his energy, his humility and grace and total delight in his creations.
He's so wise.
He's so wise and funny and funny and so handsome. And you can okay. And you can check out his work at Little Man Daily. I think it's littleman.daily on Instagram. You can check out his website at rlaporta.com. Specifically, if you want to check out his work on the Inner Fort, go to rlaporta.com/Inner Fort.
I also have an Instagram, The Inner Fort.
Oh, he also has on Instagram, The Inner Fort. So many links. So I'll put those in the show notes. But as a final wrap up, remember,
I'd really like to do every podcast with him.
You are and you can find us. And if you want to, listen to our upcoming broadcasts and tune into high school baseball season, it's actually right around the corner. So we're going to be busy bees. Next Tuesday is our first game. I don't know if this podcast is going to be out by Tuesday, but we'll try to add a link so you can learn more about that too. All right, that's enough from us from our dining room.
I cut you off. Sorry. Who knows?
Thank you. for listening to the Wishbeads podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please leave a review and share it with a friend and help us build our community. And if you haven't yet, sign up for our next Wish Circle. It's going to be Sunday, February 23rd. Once a month, I'm hosting Wish Circles, 1 hour of magic and community, and an invitation for you to connect to your heart, picture what you are ready to create in your life, and stay inspired to do it. All right, until next time.
Guess what?
Stay amazing. This part of it, you're never supposed to interrupt me.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. So bossy.
Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Oh, Valentine's Day is tomorrow.
What'd you get me?
Nothing.
Okay. Here, this.
I got you some flowers.
Oh my God.
I got you some flowers. I love you.
Did you make this?
No, our son did. We do ceramics here on the side. It's an art family. Art family.
Thank you, honey.
Okay.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Ciao.
Ciao.